Hello all, I am T. Aarti. My topic is analyzing morphological structures. What makes humans different from other species is centrally their ability to communicate. Saussure, a Swiss linguist, defines language as an arbitrary system of signs made up of signifier and signified. According to Aristotle, only through language human beings express their ideas, emotions, thoughts, and desires. And at present, there are nearly 6,500 spoken languages used by different social groups across various cultures. And linguistics is the study of language in all its forms, manifestations, and historical evolutions. There are several branches in linguistics. Like sociolinguistics, dialectology, psycholinguistics, computational linguistics, comparative linguistics, and structural linguistics. And sociolinguistics is the study of sociological aspects of language, and dialectology is about the study of dialects, and psycholinguistics is about how the psyche responds to the words and language. And in computational linguistics, techniques of computer science are applied to the analysis and synthesis of language and speech. And comparative linguistics is the investigation of similarities and difference among languages. And structural linguistics, it analyzes the formal structure in a text or any discourse. And the subfields of linguistics are phonetics, phonology, morphology, syntax, semantics, and pragmatics. So, phonetics is the study of speech sounds in their physical aspects, and phonology in their cognitive aspects. And morphology is a study of formation of words, and syntax study of formation of sentences, and semantics is about the study of meanings, and pragmatic study of language use. So what is morphology? So morphology is a study of words, how they are formed, and their relationship with other words in the same language. So it's a Greek word. Morph means shape or form, and ology means study of something. And the term morphology has been taken over from biology, where it is used to denote the study of forms of plants and animals. It was first used for linguistic purposes in 1859 by the German linguist August Cleacher to refer to the study of form of words. And morphemes are the smallest meaningful part of a word, or also called a meaningful unit of or grammatical function. And so morphemes can be further divided into free morphemes and bound morphemes. And free morphemes are word elements that can stand alone, and they can stand in isolation, and they cannot be further divided into smaller parts. For example, the words like gentle, father, license, picture, gem, work, high, chair, wrap, house, etc. all comes under free morphemes, and they are words in themselves. And next is bound morphemes, the morphemes that must be attached to another morpheme to receive meaning. And and for example, in the word unkindness, and-ness are bound morphemes, and kind is a free morpheme. And free morphemes can be further divided into lexical morphemes and functional morphemes. And lexical morphemes are set of ordinary nouns, verbs, adjectives, adverb, and they are also called content words because they carry content of the message we convey. And next is functional morphemes, also called as closed class of words because we never add new functional words to language. And articles, conjunctions, prepositions, and pronouns comes under functional morphemes. And bound morphemes can be further divided into inflectional morphemes and derivational morphemes. And inflectional morphemes are morphemes, and these morphemes change what a word does in terms of grammar but does not create a new word. And English has only 8 inflection morphemes, and all are suffixes, and these inflectional morphemes, they add grammatical information to a word. And 2 inflections can be added to noun. One is possessive case, another one is plural case. And 4 can be added to verbs. One is past tense, another one is present participle, past participle, and third person singular. And 2 inflections can be added to adjectives. One is comparative, another one is superlative. And derivation morphemes create a new word which gets its own dictionary entry, and they create new words out of base words of different grammatical category. And most bound morphemes in English are derivational. Next is bound roots, and morphemes that must be attached to another morpheme are called bound roots, and they do not have meaning of their own. And these roots are usually Greek and Latin roots. For example, in the word liberty, the root is liber, which means free, and they are also called as dependent roots.
Morphological analysis done by Ananda Bhairavi D. Let's talk about how words are formed by morphological process and how they are analyzed in morphological analysis. What is morphology? Morphology is a study of internal structure of words and forms a core part of linguistic study today. The term morphology is of Greek origin. Morpho means shape and form, and ology means study of something. Morphology as the sub-discipline of linguistics was named for the first time in 1859 by the German linguist August Laker, who used the term for the study of forms of words. According to Carleton T. Hodge, the American linguist, who explains that each language is unique not only in its inventory of sounds but also in the manner in which it employs them in meaningful combinations. The study of these meaningful combinations has been traditionally divided into morphology, which is description of meaningful forms, syntax, which is ordering of sentence elements. He also says that morphology is concerned with discovering the technique of substitution, the smallest meaningful parts of sentence or utterances. The other practitioners of morphology are Leonard Bloomfield, Mark Aronoff, Andrew Spencer, and Peter Matthews. Let's see about words and morphemes and how they differ from each other. Words are the smallest independent units of language. They do not depend on other words. It can be separated from other units and can change positions. On contrast, morphemes are the minimal units of grammatical analysis. Words have internal structure and built of even smaller pieces, and these smaller pieces are called morphemes. Simple words have no internal structure. Example, work, build, carry, one morpheme. Complex words have internal structure. Example, worker. Affix er is added to the root word to form a noun. Bound and free morphemes. The free morpheme is a simple word consisting of one morpheme. Example, house, work, high, wrap, etc. They are words in themselves. Bound morphemes, on the other hand, morphemes that must be attached to another morpheme to receive meaning. The stem is the base morpheme to which another morphological piece is attached. It can be simple, made of only one part, or complex, it's made of more than one piece. Example, reconsideration, reconsider, and Asian. Here, consider is the stem. A root is like a stem in constituting the core of the word to which other pieces are attached, but the term refers only to morphologically simple units. Example, disagree is the stem of the disagreement because it is the base to which meant attaches, but agree is the root. Here the pictures show the different types of morphemes, free morpheme and bound morpheme, and the bound morphemes are further classified into derivational and inflectional, and the further divisions are stated in the picture. In the types of morpheme we also come across the affixes, which are either prefixes or suffixes. The former precede the root and the later precede roots. Affixes can do one of the two things. First one, add grammatical information such as tense or plurality with affixes like ed or yes, or the second one, create new words with morphemes like is, er, ing. As such, affixes alter the parts of speech. Those in the category 1 are called inflectional affixes, and the second category are called derivational affixes. So the difference between inflectional and derivational morphology is shown in the picture. The study of modification of words to fit into different grammatical context is called inflectional morphology. The study of formation of new words that differ either in syntactic category or in meaning from their basis are called derivational morphology. Affixes merely serve as grammatical markers and indicate some grammatical information about a word, or inflectional morphemes. Affixes that are capable of either changing the meaning or the grammatical category of the word are called derivational morphemes. The inflectional morphemes creates new forms of the same word, and derivational morphology creates new words. On different parameters such as function, meaning, regularity, syntactic determinism, obligatoriness, productivity, paradigmaticity, fusion and recursivity, and position, inflection and derivation are distinguished in the tabular columns, which we can see in the slide. Further on, we'll move on to see how morphological analysis is actually studied. In morphological analysis, we study the morphological process through which various combination of words are formed. Some of the morphological processes are exponents, suppletion, syncretism, hapology, reduplication, replacement, compounding, abbreviation, root modification, xeromorph, conversion, internal change, clipping, blend, eponyms, politicization, and back formation. What is morphological analysis? Morphological analysis is an linguistical process that uses phonology to find word patterns. Probing these elements has a bigger goal of unearthing word meanings. Linguists use this process when they assess what words morphemes mean. For example, a linguist can conduct a morphological analysis on a word trainings, which would break into three morphemes: train, ing, and s, and then use morpholingual rules to determine what each of its morpheme means individually and together for an overall sense of the word. But why is this important? When people morphologically analyze words, they report results in various ways. They can report whether morphemes are free or bound or root or affixes, prefixes or suffixes, etc. They can report their morphological patterns and findings by way of morphological rules, which explain how words are built out of morphemes and allow others to form words using the same rules. The following graph shows how the linguist study each and every word and how he recognizing the prefixes and the root and the suffixes are stated in this graph. So how do we draw tree diagram after the morphological analysis of the word? So here we will see in this picture we can see the tree terminology and the branches which is classifying and deconstructing each word. For the word reconstruction is classified into reconstruct and iron and classified into branches, and same we can see undesirable, and more examples for tree structures are given in the next slide. Structure of word disformational and unreasonably or can be seen, where it is distinguished on verb, adjective, and the further classifications. And that is all we can say about this morphological analysis. Thank you.
Hello, this is Anuleka and I'll be briefly explaining the topic of morphological properties of the English verb. In linguistics, morphology is the study of words, how they are formed, and their relationship to the other words in the same language. It analyzes the structure of words and parts of words such as stems, root words, prefixes, and suffixes. Morphology also looks at parts of speech, intonation, and stress, and the ways context can change a word's pronunciation and meaning. In many languages, a number of different features are marked on the verb and serve to situate and contextualize its usage. This concept is called verbal morphology. In English, morphologically, the verbs have the following properties. Tense, mood, aspect, and voice are some of the most common of these types of features. Basically, tense locates an event in time, while aspect refers to the way in which the event unfolds within a time frame. Mood signals the speaker's intent or attitude towards their utterance, and voice distinguishes thematic relationships between the verb and arguments of a sentence. Language differs in how and the extent to which they realize these categories morphologically, giving rise to a great deal of cross-linguistic variation. Now, let us see how the verbs in English language particularly express these morphological properties with examples. Tense. Tense provides a temporal reference point for an utterance. Tense is sometimes traditionally viewed as a tripartite division between present, past, and future. English is actually a two-tense system which is common among Germanic languages and found in many other languages such as Persian. English only marks a past and a non-past form inflectionally by adding the suffix d or its allomorphs t or ed to verbal stems. For example, decide and its past form decided, or by altering the vowel of the stem, that is, sing and its past form sang, grow and its past form grew, find and its past form found. English forms a reference to the future with the use of the modal auxiliary will. For example, write is the present form, its past form is wrote, and its future form is will write. The next property is aspect. Aspect expresses temporal distinctions within a particular time. It indicates how time passes or how an action unfolds within a time frame. It can combine with different tense to give finer distinctions. There are several different aspects used by the languages of the world. One of the more common is the distinction between the perfective and the imperfective. The perfective aspect indicates a bounded point in time, often with a perceivable beginning and end, while the imperfective aspect suggests a more unbounded period. English can mark an utterance as being a perfective aspect through the use of the auxiliary verb have or has. For example, I have finished writing the letter. The progressive or continuous aspect indicates an ongoing action or event. In English, this is expressed morphologically through the addition of the suffix ing to the verb stem, which is then used with the auxiliary to be. Thus, she is reading a book denotes an event in progress in the present, while she was reading a book depicts an action that was continuous at a point in the past. Some of the lesser discussed aspects are durative aspects, which is of or pertaining to the aspect of a verb that expresses continuing action. It is part of the imperfective aspect. A dynamic aspect is when a verb shows continued or progressive action on the part of the subject. A static aspect is when a verb discusses a state of being, etc. Mood differs from tense and aspect in that it makes no reference to time or the unfolding of event within a time frame. Rather, mood indicates intent or attitude of the speaker. Some examples of different moods attested cross-linguistically are the indicative, the conditional, the imperative, the subjunctive, the optative, and the potential. The indicative mood is used to express declarative or questions. In English, this is unmarked. The basic verbal form serves as the indicative form. The subjunctive mood is to express doubt, hypothetical situations, desire, or obligation. Though this mood was once widely used in Old English, it is less common in modern English, though it still survives in a few constructions. The imperative mood is used to command, prohibit, or advise. Such utterances are usually directed towards the grammatical second person. This can be seen in English. For example, you are careful, and the imperative form is be careful. The conditional mood indicates a dependence of one event on another. The English conditional is marked through the use of the modal auxiliary would and is often used in the conjunction with the subjunctive. If I were you, I would not go. Other moods like potential and optative moods do not have common occurrences in the English verbs. Another important concept to be considered here is voice. Voice refers to the relationship between the verb and the argument and piece in the sentence. In active voice, the agent of the action expressed is the subject of the verb. The verb then takes active morphology. In a passive construction, the patient or object of the verb is raised to the position of the subject of the sentence. This agent is then optionally expressed as a prepositional phrase and the verb takes passive morphology. The following example from English shows both types of constructions. For the active voice, the scientist discovered a new cure for the disease. For the passive voice, a new cure for the disease was discovered by the scientist. These are the mainly seen morphological properties of the English verbs. Thank you.